Welcome back to our Life Group Leaders Lounge. I am joined today by my co-host Raquel and a special guest, Pastor Markus. What's up, Pastor Markus?
Hello. Good morning. Good, whatever time this is when you're watching it.
There it is, exactly. We're glad you're here with us today. Hey, we're jumping into a new topic. We've been talking about serving, getting your group serving the last few weeks, and now we're going to jump into, we're going to talk about healthy leadership.
Yeah.
What does it mean to be a healthy leader? Why is being a healthy leader so important to your group? And over the next several weeks, we're going to have different special guests like Pastor Markus to come in and talk about a different quality or characteristic of a healthy leader that we can start to apply in our lives and just grow and develop as a leader. So let's get into it first. Why don't we jump in? So Markus, why don't you tell us, what is a healthy leader?
Yeah. So a healthy leader, in my opinion, is someone who can see what God has called them to be and allow their life to be led by that. One of the passages that comes to mind is Ephesians 2:10. I love this, first because it says we are God's masterpiece, which is really cool to think about. For we are God's handiwork, his masterpiece, created in Christ Jesus. For what reason? To do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. So we have these good works. So a healthy leader says, what are those works? How can I be a part of those works? And what is my purpose? And then they live that way.
Yeah. Awesome. That's great. Yeah. So I was thinking about this too. I'm just going to throw in so healthy leaders they recognize they have purpose in their life, that God has shaped them, designed them in a certain way. They not only model the way of Christ, just like Paul said in 1 Corinthians 11:1, follow me, follow my example as I follow the example of Christ. So we're modeling the person of Christ, but we're also living out the call that God has in our life. So that's great, Pastor Markus. Thank you. So why don't we talk about real quickly, why is being a healthy leader so important to those that we lead? What do you guys think? Raquel, what do you think?
Well, I think I kind of grappled with this, are we defining this, like what is the Webster definition? But that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for the biblical definition. And I think Markus touched on something really awesome earlier, like it's across the board. It doesn't matter if you're this or that or what type of leader you are. It is all the same. We're looking for all the same characteristics. And you mentioned...
Yeah, so it's the idea of a mom and a business leader. So both of them are leaders in their area of influence. Mm-hmm. So whether she's leading a business, a Fortune 500 company, whatever that is, integrity, character, kindness, love, moments of selflessness, also residing time to charge themselves is important in that arena, as well as a mom, to be selfless, to be kind, to love others, to show them what healthy boundaries are, to do all of this is all necessary in all types of leadership. Yeah. And we need it in every area of our lives where we're leading people.
Absolutely. So whether you're leading at home with your family, you're leading your life group, you're leading volunteering in a ministry, or you're leading at your job. Yeah, we all are called to lead in a healthy way, in a healthy manner. And one thing, Raquel, you mentioned, I just want to bring up, is that being a healthy leader is a journey. It's not necessarily a destination.
Yes. Right.
So we're all on a journey. We all have areas of our life that we are growing in, we're developing in, and one of the ways that we can kind of grow and develop more in a certain area is to be able to have healthy boundaries. Right. And Pastor Markus, that's one thing I look up to you about, is that you model setting healthy boundaries and you encourage others to set healthy boundaries. And so why don't let's talk about that today. So let's get into boundaries. So why don't we define that? So Townsend and Cloud, they wrote a book called Boundaries right here. It's a fantastic book on boundaries. So if you've never read it before, we highly encourage you to read it. He defines it as this: boundaries define us. They define what is me and what is not me. A boundary shows me where I end and where someone else begins, leading me to a sense of ownership. And then I just want to add in one more thing. They said, just as homeowners set physical property lines around their land, we need to set mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual boundaries for our lives to help us distinguish between what is our responsibility and what isn't. Yeah. All right, let's jump in here. Markus, why don't you talk to us about boundaries in your life?
Yeah, so we'll try to keep it in the Bible. One of the first things for me is Malachi 2:7, another awesome passage. It's actually what I have on my finger here, the shield. It says, for the lips of a priest ought to preserve knowledge, because he is a messenger of the Lord Almighty, and people seek instruction from his mouth. People are seeking instruction from leaders. And if that's the case, then we need to guard knowledge, preserve knowledge, do all of this. And what is the way that you do that in your own natural propensities, whatever it is, how you naturally are wired? What is that? For me, it's routine. I need routines in my life. If I don't have routines, everything is chaos. After coming out of the past, 18 plus months, realizing, hey, where's my routines? I think all of us experienced, I need routines. And that's learning what to say yes to, what to say no to, and figuring out my routines also set me up to be a more integrous person, to have better character. And I love how Cloud also talks about integrity. He says integrity is not just character and ethics, it's also being fully integrated, a whole person. And that's just so powerful with the idea of shalom and peace and all of this idea. So for me to get to that place, I have to have the routines that allow me to take steps towards health.
Yeah, I think something you said, and Rick, I'm going to ask you about this, is Marcus said, it's knowing what to say yes to and what to say no to in our life. So, Raquel, why do you think, and I guess, how do you create boundaries in your life, or why do you think boundaries are so important to you? How do you help?
Yeah.
Why are they? Yeah.
And I was actually going to ask you real quick. So your routine is what helps you say yes and no.
Oh,
like
100%.
That's kind of okay. So for me, it's priorities. And I think this can just apply to each person as kind of how their brain operates. Because I can tell you one thing, my husband is not good at routines necessarily.
Yeah, some people just like to live on the edge of the seat and just, life happens.
But again, back to the Bible, right? What is a healthy leader? And one of those things is having boundaries. So I set it on priorities, meaning, my family is a priority and my Bible time is a priority and my self-care is a priority. And so if I'm being asked something that's going to take away from some of those priorities, then I say no. That sets it for me, whether it's time or energy or just my physical person, can you help me do this or be here for this? I cannot. Right. My kids, my family time, all of that.
Absolutely.
And no is a complete sentence.
Yes.
That's it. That's it.
Yes.
When someone says, hey, can you, and you say no, and they respond, well, why can't you? Oh, the conversation has already ended.
Thanks for coming.
No, I cannot is a complete sentence.
And I love that. And I've heard make your no as easy as your yes.
Oh, that's good. Write that sucker down.
And no excuses. You don't need to have excuses or feel like you have to explain yourself. Just that's okay. You said no. Like you said, it's done.
Right.
Yeah, so I think of boundaries too, like walls. You put up walls in your life. If you did not have walls, then you could easily, if you thought of it like in a military sense, if you don't have walls, then anyone could come in and basically like take over your life.
Yeah.
And so if you set walls in your life of what is your priority, what's really important to you, then when things come up against the walls, you've already had them set so that you're not going to get overrun by, I would say, the tyranny of the urgent, right? A lot of times urgency takes over priorities. And there are moments in life where, like as a leader, things come up and you just need to be there for someone. And but there are times when other people's urgency doesn't necessarily mean that it's your urgency, So if you set up priorities in your life, then you're able to use those as walls to protect you and your family. Because I think it's something important I've learned from Marcus is like, if you don't set good boundaries, then you are saying yes to other people, but then you're saying no to your own family, or you're saying no to your own health or your own personal development, So I know to be honest, for setting boundaries is hard for me as a leader a lot of times. I just have an engine and I just want to go. I'll just go and go and go and go. And then oftentimes my body will tell me, like, if I start to feel sick or something, my body will tell me, well, you've said yes way too many times. Like your body is saying to you, hey, you need to get some better boundaries in your life. And so like I've had times in my life where I've gone to you, Marcus, and just said, Marcus, I'm just spent. I'm exhausted. I haven't had time with my family. I've got these massive things coming up. And then Marcus will just tell me, hey man, family first. If your family is out of order, if there are things that are out of whack in your own home, then how are you going to be able to minister to other people? How can you even be healthy yourself? So what do you got tomorrow? Okay, just cancel that. take some time with your family. And
Yes.
I appreciate that. I respect that about you, because you don't just talk about boundaries and priorities in your life, but you actually model that and encourage other people to do that too. So I think that's really important for any leader in our life, is to have those walls set up and have the reasons why they're important to you, hold on to those. And then even if urgency and other people push on those, we're able to say, no, you can only go so far, because this is what I need to protect in my life.
That's right.
And for those of us who are less structured and in routines, Nate and I will call it ring fencing. For example, when he came home from deployment, our fence is smaller. It's just us and the kids that we need to focus on. And then as we are healthier and back into our routine, and then we can widen that fence. So maybe not always walls. They can be movable, and you can change what's inside the fence and what's not.
Right.
Yeah,
That's good.
Let's talk about really quickly, why is it so hard to set boundaries in our life? Because we all, whether you use that term or not, we all talk about wanting to have more discipline and have routine. But why is it that boundaries are so hard to set? What would you guys say are some reasons that you've seen in your own life that it's hard to set those?
Well, I think one is not wanting to let people down. I think
Bingo.
all of us have a piece of that within us.
Bingo.
Yeah.
It can be codependency. Another book written by Cloud is Necessary Endings. And he talks about the fact that there's times when we need to put a necessary ending on something, even though we may not want to. Mm-hmm. And he said, if you have difficulty with that, it's called codependency. And codependency is when you're about to die, someone else's life flashes before your eyes because you don't have one. Woo!
Wow.
Yeah, that's good.
Talk
That's good.
about it.
That's hard. I mean, people pleasing is challenging for me. I feel like,
For many of us.
yeah, it's the desire to want to be there for people, right? Like, you will put yourself, it's almost like a train is coming by, you'll shove someone else out of the way of the train, and you'll stay there and let the train hit you. Like, because you're so much more interested in protecting other people at times than yourself.
Right.
And so as a leader, I think that gets pushed all the time.
Right.
I think people's needs and desires, they'll come up to you, and from a good desire of like, hey, I just want to serve people, I just want to love people. Well, all of a sudden, that desire to serve people, love people, start to go higher and bigger than, wait, I'm not connecting with God right now. I'm not even getting any time with my scripture. I'm not giving any time to my family because that's a priority, but other people's needs have become my needs, so.
Well, and what about, kind of the less noble version of that is just being fearful that the person isn't going to respect your boundaries, or they're going to push back on your boundaries.
Yep.
And I think, I think of my kids, that you naturally want to push boundaries at the age of, what'd you
2.
say?
Yeah.
Right.
0.
Yeah.
The age of 0.
So
and it keeps going as an adult, too.
And so that's like a natural, instinct that's within us. And so I think the reaction of that is that we also naturally know that that's going to happen. So we just don't even want to.
Yeah, it's true, right? Because
approach it.
you can be afraid of how someone else is going to respond.
Mm-hmm.
You set a boundary in your life. People may not like them. They may try to push on them. Like, I know when Heather and I do premarital counseling with couples, one of the things that comes up all the time is, family expectations on your marriage. Like, not your family, but other people's families' expectations on you. And so when it comes to like setting boundaries with families, that can be hard, because you go from being an individual, a single person, to now all of a sudden, like, wait a second, you're not going to come over for every holiday,
The in-laws.
Right.
Bum, bum, bum.
Exactly. But it's hard, because you even learn to set boundaries in those circumstances,
Yeah.
because other people have expectations on you. I think that's what it
It's
comes
rough.
down to, is the expectations that people have on you. You may feel them and feel like you have to meet all of these needs. And what it does is it takes away from your own health. It can take away from your own family. So we're not saying don't help people at all. We're not saying that at all. We're just saying, hey, it's important, like Pastor Markus was saying, is have good routines in life. Make sure, as Raquel was mentioning, that you have that your priorities are right about what's most important to you. And then you can be a healthy, then I think that what that produces is it can produce a healthy,
For sure.
a healthy leader. So again, if we're thinking on the lines of, as we talk about healthy leaders, the way that you lead, people will follow. So if your life is out of whack as a leader and you have a boundary problem, then what are you going to be producing in your groups and the people that you're leading? You're going to be producing that too, boundary
And
problems.
you can't give what you don't have.
For sure.
Exactly.
Well, and to go back to Ephesians 2:10, right? The work that he planned for us, when we are living in chaos, we are not accomplishing that good work as God's masterpiece that he set for you to do. How powerful is that?
Absolutely.
That there's something specifically for me. So if I keep saying yes to everything, I may miss out on that good work. Not
That's
all
good.
of the 1,000 gajillion good works, that good work. So spend time devoting yourself to prayer, fasting, whatever it looks like. God, what is that good work for me?
Bingo. Let's do that. Let's end with this. We're going to real brief here. What are some takeaways that our leaders can do here in this situation? So you just mentioned one.
Yep.
Take some time with the Lord. God, what do you have for me? What are you calling me to do in my life? What should I be putting my time and energy into?
That's right.
And then I would say, Raquel, is maybe sit down with your spouse or just in your own heart. What are the priorities that I have in my life? How do I rank these priorities? Time with God, serving the body, being a healthy person, loving my family, doing a good job at my work, all of those things. Put those in order. Sit down with your spouse, sit down by yourself, and then reflect on your life about how is my life reflecting those priorities.
Right. Well, and there's a biblical order. God, family, everything else. So
Yes.
Boom.
the
that.
moment we get that twisted,
Boom.
we're in a rut. So God, family, everything else, work your priorities into that model. That is biblical.
Boom.
Mic drop.
Ba-dang. I like it. Okay. Well, thank you guys for joining us today. We hope that you were encouraged, challenged like we were, just even processing this for you. And we look forward to the next few weeks looking at what healthy leaders do. God bless.
See ya.